Guys, the editors are still sitting at court. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to our media briefing. The much anticipated report is going to be presented. We have on the table, in my right hand side extreme, is Charles Zalamba. He's the director for the Zalamba Artemis. I'll put the full name in the code. And then we have acting director for legal services. His name is Hlengi Stowers. The correct spelling is we'll drop it in the code. And then we have the MEC for education. Can leave the other portfolio for now. Matome Chiloane is going to be introducing the process, and we'll give you an opportunity later to ask questions. Only the media will be given that opportunity. So see me in the audience.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. I know it's a hot day. Very hot. Sunny. I can see there's water here, so let's just keep hydrated. This shouldn't be a very long briefing. It's just to give you feedback on the investigation. And I did indicate last time when I was here that we are going to appoint an external investigating law firm so that we can really get to the bottom of not necessarily an event, but the institutionalized or perceived challenges that existed in the school. And I must say this issue of this school attracted a lot of attention, mainly from the media and the public. One veteran in sports likes to say that they in sports, their duty is to create conversations. And it's as if we create a conversation in the public about the challenges that are generally experienced by children in different schools and the community at large. Which for me it was also a necessary conversation from time to time when we reflect on society as to how far we've come, and if there are other outstanding issues and matters and ideas and ideologies that need to be revisited, corrected or not. So this school, I must say that it did reflect that. But overall, what was important for us as a department is that we needed to get an external, beyond our own internal work that we've been doing lately, not only in this school but all schools across our province. But external was appointed precisely because we needed a third eye on the issues, an independent eye on the issues, so that obviously, not to say that when we do our own internal work, we have a challenge of credibility. We don't. And I have to say this, as a department, we are very thorough, Gauteng Department of Education. And confidently say, in all provincial education departments, I can say we are confidently the best at the level of ethics, how we do our work, integrity of our work, commitment to our work. No one can come close to us. I can give you a year, 2 years, go and do your research. You'll come back. That's why we continue to become an attractive system in the country. Across, people coming into our provinces, bringing their children here. One retired principal says to me, Gauteng residents don't want to take their children to private schools because they know that in public, their children do get the same quality, if not better. and then they pay more. But because of challenges sometimes they experience, they are forced, some of them, to really take their kids to this, as you put it, unpalatable, high-paying fees, private schools. So the level of integrity, the commitment that GDP always possesses is unmatched, confidently. So that's why we said, no, beyond our own internal reporting and investigation, let us bring the external Gadamba, the director of Gadamba, I think it's Charles Gadamba here, who will then do the investigation and then give us a report. I have not seen the report. I don't know what he's going to present. Like you, and then, but what they've done in the morning is to bring obviously the stakeholders, the SGB, and the SMT of the school on high level. But they've not really gone into brief me thoroughly. So I said, no, let me just come at everybody. Let me get the report properly first time. So tell you, Mr. Bledam.
Thank you, MEC. Thank you, Mr. Malwan. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to share with you a high-level summary of the investigation report. As we all know, the mandate was to investigate all allegations of racism here at the school. And the scope of the investigation was, inter alia, to look into the allegations themselves, the circumstances around the allegations made, the conduct of the principal, whether such allegations were reported to the GDE. We're also to look at the conduct of the school management team and the role, if any, of the SGB of the school. I need to emphasize this. These allegations were put forward, but they were tested against the records of the school, the policies of the school, and the law. Therefore, the findings of the investigations are factual. They are based on evidence and concessions that was made by some of the implicated persons. In summary, the allegations were, I will start in the teaching and learning environment. There was the issue of the WhatsApp group, where it was said that the learners in that group made racial remarks. Another allegation that was put forward was the selective application of discipline based on the race of the accused learner. There was also an allegation about the lack of transparency on the part of the school on how complaints are dealt with. And this was linked to the bullying of one learner, which we describe as learner 6, by the 12 learners from the WhatsApp group. There was also an allegation that was made about black learners that were said to have racially abused white learners in 2020, and the GDE failed to act on that particular incident when it was reported by the GDE. It was further submitted that because of this, there was a mass departure of learners at the school. Another allegation that was put forward was that black learners in July 2024, they've also racially abused learners of other races, and this was in response of the WhatsApp group messages becoming public. There's also an allegation that white educators here at the school do not greet their fellow black educators. And when this was questioned, the response was that it is because the white educators do not know whether the black educators are cleaners or educators here at the school. We now move to the administration unit and the allegations related specifically to the position of the finance manager. The allegation was that the finance manager was favored and appointed to the position based on her race without meeting the qualification requirements and without any application and interview process as required by the school's employment policy. Due to the finance manager not being qualified for the position, the school secured external support so she could succeed in the position, the extent of which was never provided to the black person that previously held that position. Now, I will deal with the allegations in the estate facilities unit. The allegations in that unit was that the estate facility manager position was reserved for white persons. And once the white person is appointed, they are trained on the job by the black supervisors and team leaders because they do not have the experience for that position. That, as a result, discouraged a lot of people for applying for that position. It is further said that the estate facility manager, who is white and appointed in the position for the past 4 years, has outsourced his responsibilities of managing gardeners to a person who is white but not employed by the school. Please note that this person turned out to be the husband of the principal. The estate facility manager and school permits the same person, the husband of the principal, to drive the school's vehicle and was at some point signing purchase orders for garden-related items. The spouse of the principal is also said to be involved in the employment of gardeners here at the school. And the estate facility manager does not greet fellow black employees and is using abusive language when addressing them. Those were, in summary, the allegations that were put forward. Now, during the drafting of the investigation report, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation addressed a letter to the MEC making a submission inter alia that the GTE should reconsider the investigation it was conducting at the school. The foundation made comments regarding the events of 18 July 2024. It appears from the letter, the foundation only met with a delegation from the SGB and the GTE. The affected learners appear not to have been consulted by the foundation and were not given an opportunity to share their experiences as learners at the school. I will now deal with the findings in the report. The first one relates to the WhatsApp group allegations. The investigation did not look into the WhatsApp messages, as that issue was decided upon by a disciplinary hearing. It is common cause that the disciplinary hearing was only initiated in July 2024, and the 12 learners were found not guilty of the charges. It is a finding in the report that the allegations were reported to the principal and the deputy principal in October 2023 by learners 3, 6, and 23. The principal mishandled the complaint. She was not transparent with the 3 learners on how she dealt with their complaint. The learners kept asking about the status of their complaint, and they were advised by the deputy principal responsible for discipline that the investigation was pending. It was the same time the bullying of learner 6 by the 12 learners from the WhatsApp group was reported to the deputy principal. The learners followed up again on the status of their complaint in term 2 of 2024. The response was the same, that the investigation was pending. This led to the events of 18 July 2024, where it is said that there was a protest and there was a bullying of learners of other races by some black learners in response to the WhatsApp group becoming public. The principal, therefore, failed to comply with her obligations as set out in paragraph 5.1.1.2c and 5.1.1.5i and n of the policy on the South African standard for principalship. The principal has therefore committed misconduct as provided in section 18(1)(a) and F of the Employment of Educators Act. I will now deal with the co-option of the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing. It appears that the co-option did not comply with Regulation 9, read together with Regulations 28 and 29 of the Governing Body Regulation for Public Schools. It also appears from paragraph 18.3 of a letter that the GDE received from the SGB on 21 September 2024 through a firm of attorneys that the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing submitted an invoice. The SGB has refused to share this invoice. In terms of the South African Schools Act, which is also reflected in paragraph 27.1 of the SGB Constitution, the SGB members cannot charge for services rendered except to claim for necessary expenses. This aspect has been referred for further investigation. I will now deal with the selective application of discipline based on race. It is found that there is a selective application of discipline at the school. For instance, no action was taken against the learners that bullied learner 6. Another example is that of a learner that attended a school event drunk, which is a Schedule 1 offense in terms of the school code of conduct. The incident was reported to the principal, and according to the deputy principal responsible for discipline, there is no record of any disciplinary steps that were taken against this learner. Be that as it may, this selective application of discipline cannot be said to be based on race. It is because there is a learner, and this is a black learner, that is said to openly bullying a white educator here at the school, and discipline is not applied. The principal is aware of this incident. 2 educators were found to have committed misconduct in the classroom and have been referred for discipline for contravening item 3 of the SACE Professional Ethics Code. A 3rd educator has been referred for further investigation. Lack of transparency in the handling of complaints, which was linked to the bullying of learner 6. The investigation found on 2 occasions, learner 6 reported the bullying incident by the 12 learners to the deputy principal, and the deputy principal failed to act on the complaint. This is notwithstanding the deputy principal having informed learner 6 that she was going to investigate the complaint. It is also a finding in the report that the deputy principal appears to have misled the principal and GDE officials when she claimed that she was waiting on learner 6 to provide evidence or written statement on the bullying incident. The deputy principal further failed to act on a bullying incident reported by learner 10 when she was bullied by other learners here at the school. This was a separate incident, not linked to the WhatsApp group. The deputy principal, by failing to act on these matters, contravened paragraph 7.1.5J of the school's Code of Conduct for Educators, read together with item 3 of the SACE Professional Ethics Code, and thus has committed misconduct under section 18(1)(a), F, and Z of the Employment of Educators Act. Now, I will deal with the incident of black learners racially abusing white learners in 2020. The incident was reported by the principal to the GDE and the SGB. The minutes of the SGB of 2020 indicate that the GDE provided the necessary support to the school regarding this incident. And the SGB was content with the support and went further to conduct its own investigation into the incident by appointing 2 counsel from the Pretoria Bar. According to the principal, a decision was then taken, or was later taken, by the SGB at the time that no disciplinary steps will be taken against the accused learners. This was notwithstanding that there was a request that discipline must be applied equally to all learners. In the report, it is found the principal failed to give feedback to the educator that lodged a complaint with her about this incident, because whenever the educator inquired about her complaint, the principal will tell her, we have it in hand. And the educator was never informed of the decision by the SGB. As a result, 4 years later, the educator cried when she related the incident. And she went on retirement at the end of September 2024, thinking that it was the GDE that made the decision not to discipline the accused black learners at the school. There are other educators that share this view. This is notwithstanding the fact that discipline is the purview of the school management and the SGB. It is due to this failure by the principal to give feedback that it is found she again contravened paragraph 5.1.1.2c and 5.1.1.5i of the policy on the South African standard for principalship. The complaints against black learners in July 2024. It is common cause that there are complaints that were lodged with the school relating to some black learners racially abusing learners of other races. This was said to be a response to the WhatsApp group messages. These complaints are being investigated by the school management. White educators not greeting their fellow black educators because they did not know whether they are cleaners or educators at the school. One needs to qualify this. It is not all white educators at the school, but some white educators or staff members. The allegation that white educators do not greet their black colleagues was confirmed by the principal. According to the principal, this is her biggest frustration that she must deal with at the school, including the ill treatment of the administration staff by some educators. The principal further indicated that her challenge is that the administration staff do not want to name the educators that are ill-treating them, and thus she cannot take the necessary disciplinary steps against them. Those are the allegations and findings in relation to teaching and learning. I will now move to deal with the allegations relating to the finance manager being favored. The position was advertised 3 times. It is a finding that the finance manager does not possess a degree or diploma, which is a requirement for the position. It is further found that the finance manager could not be appointed in this position using paragraph 13 of the school's employment policy. The principal, the HR manager, and the finance manager herself all confirmed that the finance manager never applied for the position in the first round. When she applied for the position in the second round, she was shortlisted, albeit she did not possess the qualifications for the position. She was found not to be suitable to be appointed, hence she was never appointed, and the school had to start the process afresh. The finance manager did not apply for the position in the third round. There were 3 candidates, and there was only one that was appointed. Even under paragraph 20B of the school's employment policy, which deals with positions proving to be difficult to fill, it is required that there must be an application and interview process. It is further clear from the consultancy agreement entered into between the school and the company of the person that used to be the finance manager here at the school, who is right. The services being rendered by that company or that individuals are not only a handover process, but covers all the duties of the finance manager at the school. Albeit no conclusive evidence was found that the finance manager was appointed to the position because of a race, the evidence indicates she was favored for appointment, and this appointment was not in line with the school's employment policy. Consequently, the principal contravened, again, the policy on the South African standard for principalship, and in terms of section 18(1)(a) and F of the Employment of Educators Act, has committed misconduct. The HR manager has failed also in this regard to comply with her obligations to ensure adherence to the school's employment policy, as set out in paragraph 8.1.3 thereof. As a result, she has committed misconduct under paragraph 11.4 of the school's disciplinary code and procedure for support staff. I will now deal with the allegations in the estate facilities unit. With regards to those allegations, it is found that indeed the estate manager used abusive language towards employees. Which are committed misconduct under paragraph 11.4 and 11.5 of the school's disciplinary code procedure for support staff. The HR manager failed to comply with her obligations when she requested the acting principal to sign the employment contract of Mr. A without having all the necessary documentation for that appointment. The acting principal proceeded to sign the employment contract of Mr. A, thus failed to verify that proper procedure was followed in the appointment. The acting principal has committed misconduct under section 18(1)(a), (b), and F of the Employment of Educators Act. Now, were the allegations reported to the GDE? It is common cause that the WhatsApp group incident was only reported to GDE Tshwane South on 18 July 2024, and the GDE officials engaged the management of the school on the allegation. This is when they learned of the bullying of learner 6. Allegations of misconduct were also made against GDE officials on how they handled the WhatsApp group incident. The SGB chairperson claimed to be in possession of the audio recordings of those meetings, but failed to share them, notwithstanding having promised to do so. These allegations were denied by the GDE officials. They also indicated that they never gave any consent for the meetings to be recorded. When they inquired from the management of the school and the SGB chairperson if any of their meetings were being recorded, their response was in the negative. The conduct of the SMT. The SMT of the school claimed to be unaware of all these allegations. The role of the SGB. The WhatsApp group incident was reported by the principal to the SGB chairperson, the same time she informed the acting director of Tshwane South. The SGB further learned of the bullying of Lena 6 the same time as the GDE officials. The SGB was unaware of the other allegations. The SGB chairperson and some SGB members attempted to interfere with the decision taken by the principal to provisionally suspend and charge the 12 learners in accordance with paragraph 1 and 3 of the misconduct of learners in public schools and disciplinary proceedings. This was after the principal had consulted with the GDE officials regarding the WhatsApp group incident. I will now deal with the recommendations. It is recommended that the following staff members be charged with misconduct: the principal, the deputy principal responsible for discipline, 2 educators for classroom-related incidents, the estate manager, the HR manager, and the acting principal. The GDE is to consider removing the SGB chairperson from the SGB in terms of Regulation 13 of the Governing Body Regulation for his attempt to interfere with the legislative powers and functions of the MEC and the HOD. This was designed to derail the investigation. According to the SGB chairperson, the letter he addressed to the MEC and the HOD on 31 August 2024 was drafted on their advice and with the guidance of his personal lawyer and not one appointed by the SGB. This letter was copied to a third party and contained serious allegations inter alia against officials regarding discussions that took place behind closed doors. This interference is also clear from the allegations that the SGB chairperson made at the SGB meeting of 29 August 2024, where he claimed there were potential attempts by the GDE to ban the SGB, and further claiming this was now a fight. These are the recommendations contained in the report, and I thank you.
Okay. That was a very brief report. Open for questions, clarity seeking questions, but if we are fine, then we will close. One, just remember your number. 1, 2, your number 1, 3, 4, 5. Just remember your number. Yes, you can hit the first round, maybe we'll come back.
Good morning, Nobukai Ndambu from Eyewitness News. Taking into consideration the recommendations that you've just made, particularly when it comes to the principal and the deputy principal, they're currently on suspension. MEC, what does that mean for that suspension? How does it impact the suspension? From what I understand, they were to return at the end of last month, which would have been a week ago or so. Have they returned? If not, is it because of the findings and the recommendations of this particular report? And then a second one, just on the question about the letter that was written by former President Thabo Mbeki's foundation, criticizing the department in essence about the mishandling, at least using the words that were used in that letter, by jumping the gun in some of the what you had implemented initially through the suspension of those 12 learners. What do you make of that criticism? Did you in fact jump the gun? And then the last one, I understand Gauteng Premier Banyaza Yusufi also wanted a meeting with you following the letter by former President Thabo Mbeki's foundation about jumping the gun. Has that meeting happened just yet, taking him into confidence about how all of this had unfolded? Has that meeting with the Premier happened? If not, when is it going to happen? What do you expect is going to be tabled at that meeting? Thank you.
So defense is speaking the CPC. So I also wanted to find out about you engaging with the Matome Foundation just to find each other since after the letter. Please.
Okay.
Thanks. Flonim Timpul from ENCA. Maybe the first question, you seem at loggerheads with the school, one of your entities. Just in terms of the response from the school, what has that sort of been like? What has the engagement been from the school? Will they be implementing the recommendations that have been suggested, and do you trust that those recommendations will be implemented? Then my second question is also around the Thabo Mbeki Foundation and even the Democratic Alliance, your GNU partner. Is the MEC being undermined by the Thabo Mbeki Foundation as well as the Democratic Alliance? My third question is, in terms of the legal ramifications for this, is the department ready for whatever outcome will come from the school? Because there seems to be a lot of legal muscle that the school also has in its own capacity. So is the department ready for that legal fight? And then just clarity on where the other allegations come from, because I mean, I think we were aware of the specific WhatsApp group sort of allegations, but then there was also about the estate facility manager, there was also about the teachers not being happy with, not being greeted, that sort of thing. So was that found out during the investigation? And then just a response from the school. What has the school said?
Okay. Who was number 4? Yeah.
Hi, MEC, Sunay from NEPA Twitter. I just wanted to make sure about the process. Is it normal practice? I don't know if I'm asking this correctly, but to suspend someone before they actually know on what grounds they were suspended? You can just maybe explain, because now this is the first time that we've actually heard the misconduct that they have been found guilty on. And does this count this briefing that they have been officially charged, or will they be officially charged now, or does this count, or can somebody just explain how that will work?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mariska. I'm from Marilla Media. We have it on record that the lawyer doing the investigation has worked for the GDE previously. How many times has he done work for the GDE, and can it still be considered an independent investigation then? And then, given that a member of the GDE told staff and learners that they would root out racism with or without evidence, is there any way for the media to validate these findings? And then, the lawyer had indicated to several stakeholders during the investigation that he was unable to find racism. How does that correspond with the current findings?
Okay, that was the last one. Yeah. Let me see. I don't know who will share the.
Yeah, I will share.
Give us some distance. I think this side. Yeah.
You are the technical expert.
Yeah.
You are the lawyer.
Yeah.
You are the lawyer.
For the department.
I'll deal with the
DA and
DA and others. Okay, let me start firstly to say, yes, I did receive the letter from the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, and the former President Mbeki is a highly respected statesman in our country. I respect him a lot, and when we first requested a meeting with the department, I went there. I was in that meeting. I took a team of the leadership of Tshwane, that included the chief director responsible for Tshwane as a region, Galego. I took at the time the acting director, now appointed director, Mr. Nganiwe. I took the head of legal in the Tshwane South District to form part of that meeting. The person who was legal, Mr. I forgot his name. Marakala. Yes. Yes, he's here as well. Now, to go and engage, because of course, as somebody who's senior in our country and who's been there, and I really respect his views. So just to have an engagement, and we did have an engagement. We were able to clarify some concerns that he might have had, and actually even left him with a file, big thick document of information that he might refer to. And then he responded, of which his response, of course, I warmly received it and appreciated his counsel and advice. And that's where it ended, because it's an advice, it's counsel, it's respected, it forms part of or it will form part. And I committed that if what he's saying is correct or the advice, we gladly take it, because our intention is not to witch hunt in the school or target individuals. So if what he had recommended and advised on is what the report, the investigators found, I would have gladly say the former president was correct on this one and was not correct on this one. And actually now, that's where there are areas where I think obviously his advice is warmly received, and there are areas where obviously I'm of the view that you should have then gotten extra additional information. For instance, maybe engage with the learners, for one, because the Children's Act, what is Section 10?
Yeah.
Section 10C or something. Section 10C says children above the age of 10 need to be consulted on their own views on the matter. So they should. So these are, it's high school. So all children above 10 could have then given the other side. So within the advice, that component I felt that was missing. But overall, it is noted, and there are no issues actually with the Matome Foundation. It's a foundation that I hugely respect, and I will always go there for counsel as well, so that you know that if there are challenges and I need advice, I will always go to the former president to advise me. And the meeting with the premier, I had an engagement with the premier just to give him an update as to how far is the investigation. What I could not do, I can't stop an investigation as recommended. I can't stop. This is an independent investigation. It would have even amounted to fruitless expenditure, because we're paying them to actually conduct this particular work. So we couldn't even allow that to happen. So they had to conclude the work, because the intention is to look at the culture challenge in the school. Not target this individual and that individual. Is there a systematic, this silent racism perhaps that exists in the school? If it's been able to be unearthed, let's unearth it and correct it. We are back on a corrective process. Corrective. And the lessons from this type of investigation and experiences in schools is to say, how do we move to the next school where we find similar challenges? Because ultimately, we don't want our children to leave our schools with a certain animosity of these ones against that one. That's not, they are no longer building a nation. Then it means the education system is actually failing in its quest to beyond creating the skills population, but the responsible patriots who are united, who have a firm belief of a united nation. So this is what we're looking at. The school principal was brought back to the school. We've reinstated her. So we're not at loggerheads. There are no at loggerheads with the school. As you can see, this is a very good school. You can see the quality of infrastructure. This is a model school that we always speak about, and we pride ourselves as Gauteng government, Gauteng Department of Education. A school with a good, well-maintained infrastructure, where there's teaching and learning, where there's discipline, and where there's a comprehensive extracurricular program. As you can see, the facilities. So you can see that those aspects But it does not mean that inside there are no problems. And these are the problems that we are dealing with. Yes, we can suspend you without really, because we're investigating. But the grounds for suspension was not just to say, we're suspending you today, go. We also brought in, we applied legislation. You will speak to that piece of legislation that we utilize to get the principal to be suspended while pending the investigation. And we're not a loggerhead with the SGB. Discipline at school level starts with the SGB. Those are the first line. It's with the SGB. Hence the investigation and the disciplinary process and the suspension of the 12 learners, it was the SGB's decision, not GD. They were doing their own work at the level of the SGB. And even when the 12 learners were absolved, it was the SGB decision. We never came as GDE says, no, the decision to absolve these 12 learners, therefore we're interfering, we're going to do, we didn't do that. We said it's a competency that is with the SGB, we leave it at the school. And the school resolved it, and those 12 learners returned to school, and they proceeded normally. At no point those learners were interfered, were questioned, were in any way. Because we understand that that level of discipline process is at the level of the SGB. It's only when the individuals who were dealt with at the SGB level are not happy, then they can request at the higher level. To say, the outcomes are not satisfactory, I want the district to come and intervene. That's when they can come intervene. But because none was done, we left here, and I was actually happy that the 12 kids were back at school, because I want my children to pass, to do well. So the more you take them out of school, it's a problem for me, especially if you keep them out of the school for too long. So that process was done by the SGB. So when we investigate, like I said, the investigation was to investigate the culture in the school. Because there was an incident in 2016, incident in 2020, incident now. So these systematic, these events made us realize that perhaps maybe there's something deeper that needs to be found and understood within the school. And that's when we're busy with the investigation, we're picking up that the husband of the principal is driving the vehicle of the school, which both of them know it's not allowed. It's a property of the school, not a family property. You need to differentiate, but it's not what we're really looking for. We're looking to check the culture, and all these issues came, even the 2020 issue came up, how it was handled, and also the response. Apparently the response was that there was a hemorrhage of, I would say in this case, white learners left the school because of how that process was handled. But the conclusion thereof was not even communicated, that it was the SGB's decision. It was the SGB's decision not to charge those that were accused, not GDE. And if there's those who brought the allegation forward feel that there was no media attention, I did not want media in my schools, honestly. The less we keep away from my schools, the better. But I can't keep away for some reason. We always find reason to go into my schools, because I want schools to work. Even today, even if there was no media, I would communicate this to the school management and act based on the recommendation thereof that would have been brought forward by the investigative law firm. That's consistent. But because of the public interest, we have to report to the public on our work, because we are accountable to the public. So we'll go back to the TMF, Matome Chiloane Foundation later on. We're not worried about the legal ramification at all. Not at all. If people have personal muscle to go to court, it's okay, they are right. But one thing that will not withdraw on is to get our schools right. Getting our schools right it's a conviction. So bring lawyers, bring whatever, it's your right. But it does not mean that it's going to prohibit me or prohibit the GDE from doing what it's supposed to do legally. And that is to ensure that we have functioning schools which are performing functionally and properly. That one I'm not going to be prohibited. I'm not even fearful, I'm not even scared. I'll be more than happy. Because it's a conversation. So yes, we are going to act on the recommendation as they are. And that's what we always do when we present these investigative reports. We act on them. All of them, we act on them. We acted at David. Skills, we acted at the last school, Queenswood. We acted at all of the investigative reports, we act on them. In Gauteng, at school in Togoza, we acted. So we do act. And we do give report. But when we give feedback, generally, of course, we'll give it to the school. And if there are families affected, personal families, we also give feedback to the families and updates to those families that are affected by these investigative reports every time we move. So we will act. As they've outlined them from the principal, deputy principal, the educator, the estate manager, the finance, etc. Everyone that's been there, we are going to act on them accordingly as recommended by the investigative law firm. So we'll just act them as they are. That's why I brought legal and labor here. And what I can tell you, GDE is very thorough when it deals with matters of labor. We don't lose. That one I can assure you. Because we don't want to lose. We are fair, we know our work, and we just want people to do things right. And if you do things right, we are not going to disturb you. But if you do things wrong, you are inviting me. And this is the first time I told the school when I arrived, that if you behave yourself, do things properly, the school is running properly, you will never see me. You will meet me at the awards when I'm giving your learners awards. But if you do wrong things, you will see me at your school. Because clearly you want my attention. So if you don't want my attention, do things right. So there were some legal questions that you will take some.
Thank you, MEC. On the question of whether it's normal practice to suspend, I think the MEC has already also calculated that it's a fair process. It's there in terms of employment of educators Act. The principal was treated fairly, and we will continue to treat the principal fairly in terms of our adhering to legislative framework that is applicable in a relationship of an employer and an employee relationship. Also, on an issue of, I think he has touched on an issue whether MEC also has responded to whether we are ready for any legal challenge we might receive. I think I will never overemphasize what the MEC has already said. It's our position. We don't want matters to go to court. We try to resolve it as much as we can, but if the parties insist that the matter can be resolved in court, then we are ready going to go to court. Because it's part of our right as an institution, it's part of their right that the dispute be resolved in those institutions. So court are not institutions to be feared, institutions that resolve issues when we don't see eye to eye. We don't want to go there because they are expensive. We hope that issues are resolved at the level where we can engage and resolve and align issues and find each other, because at the end it's about the children, it's about our learners, and we want to see ourselves spending more time in the classroom than going to court to fight issues. So we are ready, but being ready does not mean we are not willing to resolve issues that we can resolve with any party that engaged the Department of Education. I think that would be all from my side.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks, MEC. I think I will respond to how many times has the firm done the work for the GDE. The firm has done a lot of work for GDE because the firm has been on the panel of GDE since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. But remember, when we do our work, we are not being influenced by any GDE officials because the work must be based on evidence. It must not be based on hearsay. That's why this is what was communicated to the principal, to the SMT, to the SGB to say the outcome of this investigation will be based on evidence. It's not going to be based on somebody who comes with a hearsay because they think that this is a witch hunt and all that. No, based on evidence. You want to know if the husband of the principal is driving the school vehicle, we have a vehicle pass for that, which proves, and it's got his name on it. You want to know if the finance manager does not possess the degree, we've got a CV for that. We've got the adverts, right, which sets out what the requirements are, right? You want to know if the 2020 incident where black learners are said to have abused white learners, we do have a resolution or minutes of the SGP dealing with that issue. So people, if they want to take the report on review or to whatever forum that they think that they can challenge it, I think they're more than welcome to do so, but that report is based on evidence. And that was explained thoroughly to everyone, right? And everyone accepted that, okay, if these are the rules of engagement, we accept that because everything must be based on evidence. That's what that report speaks to. I think another question was, when did these allegations come up, right? That were investigated because people were under the impression that we were looking into the WhatsApp group. I think the terms of reference were very clear. Again, they were communicated, right, to the SGB, to the SMT, before we started with the investigation. Because it is very important that before you start with this exercise, right, you need to have the buy-in of the people that you will be working with or investigating. Because it gives them the confidence that you're not gonna come with allegations or with findings that are not based on evidence. And in that regard, I'm in possession of the minutes that were signed by the acting principal dated 20 August, if I'm not mistaken, confirming that we engaged them in that regard. They are the minutes of the SGB where the acting principal at the time communicated to the SGB, and in any event, on the day that we were introduced to the school, the SGB came, right? We were introduced to them, we engaged them. I don't know if I missed anything. Thanks.
I think we are fine. In second round?
Excuse, just mind the charges specifically, did this serve as the charges of the misconduct, or will they get something like a year later, or will there be something else?
Yes, maybe to touch on that, of course, it's a formal process once we begin to charge a person. Right now, we are communicating the outcome of our investigation and the recommendation. They will be engaged individually, and they will respond to whatever that there will be allegation that would be leveled against them. So it will be a fair process.
Okay.
Yeah, they will be notified in due course. Yes.
Okay, let me take the second round. We are number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember the numbers. Okay?
Will the principal and deputy principal be reinstated until there's any new charges or further investigations into their conduct or misconduct?
They are currently paid.
Okay.
So there's
so
no
it will be
any-
until.
They are paid.
Okay.
When did they come back? When did they come back?
Today.
Today.
Do that. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Number 2.
Honestly, you seem to suggest that this investigation is sort of unearthed that indeed a culture of racism exists in this school. Have you sort of wrapped your head around what measures you'll be taking going forward? I understand you received the report this morning, you said, but I'm just curious if you wrapped your head around action you take. And secondly, you say the principal is back. Was she brought back prior to the release of this report? Was it before? What informed that decision? And seeing that she's already engaged again in this report, will you be fair acting on her despite having contact today? I don't know, it kind of doesn't make sense to me.
Mine is just clarity seeking, so I know I have the right language. Did you say that the recommendations were binding, or is it up to the school management to implement them on their own conscience?
Okay. Matome, I think it's you.
I'm number 4.
Oh, it's you, Mariska.
Yeah, hi, Mariska Kutse from the Citizen. I just want to know if the principal's husband if there will be steps taken against him for driving around with the vehicles and will he also be joining the rap sheet?
I don't think so. Is that funny?
Sorry, just clarity on the TMF issue, because in their communication, they make it very clear to say that it was the department's intervention that led to the suspension of the 12 learners, but the MECs just said that it was a decision by the SGB. So can we just get clarity on how that actually played out and who's fooling who really? And then just so to answer, is there then a finding that there's a general culture of racism at Pretoria High School? The other thing is, I just need clarity on the principal being reinstated, because there seems to have been a disagreement from this section on the reinstatement of the principal. And yeah, as things stand again, will you find alignment with the school? I know you say you're ready for the legal challenge, but you hope not to get there. But given what's been playing out, do you think that you will be able to find alignment between the school and the department? Because it doesn't seem from our viewing of things that there is an alignment between the parties that are involved. And then also, just in terms of, the principal said that her biggest frustration is, of course, that some of the white teachers, educators, don't greet the staff, that they're not sure if it's teachers or if it's cleaning staff. Did the principal do anything about that? And how long has that been going on for? How long was the principal aware of that? Did they take any actions relative to that? And maybe the final question is, why was someone who's not part of the staff allowed to be driving the school vehicle? I mean, there's children involved. That can't be okay. That could not have been okay, or however long it took place.
Okay.
Let me wrap it up, but let me just do let's start first.
Thank you. I think I'm going to answer the ones that relate to the investigation, right? I think we need to be very careful as to what we share at this stage, right? Because we must still protect the rights of the principal, right? Because once the recommendations are adopted and she's charged, she must be given a fair opportunity. We cannot be commenting on some of the issues right now in the media. I would just humbly request that maybe we give her that respect and give her and ensure that at least her rights are respected. It's not that maybe I'm avoiding to answer your questions. Next.
Thanks. On the issue of course, on the issue of recommendations, once they are approved, the department has a duty to implement the recommendation. Sometimes you find that in an instance where a recommendation is made, but as you now sort of like look at how that recommendation will be implemented, and even if it gets to a point where it's not implemented, that we give reason why it was not implemented. But generally all recommendations are implemented. On an issue of principals being brought today, I think we need to, as I indicated earlier on, that the process was that we wanted to complete our investigation, and so that we give the space where we are able to have an independent, when the time comes to respond to any allegation. As my learned colleague has indicated, that there are certain rights of, that we must respect, including the right of the principal as our employee. Employment of Educators Act will be adhered to, and the principal will be treated in a fair process. On an issue of there seems to be a misalignment between the SGB and the GDE. Where there are different stakeholders involved, there will always be disputes involved. What matters the most is how we resolve those disputes. Hence, you will note that part of BELA specifying how we need to deal with issues when there are differences between the GDE and the SGB. We therefore will not encourage anyone to go to court without having engaged us on issues where we have differences on. It's just prudent that we first find each other. If we don't, it's still their right to take the matters to court. But we still want to resolve the issue at the stage where we can sit down and resolve issues. Thank
you, Director and Mr. Dadam. You see, I don't know him. Don't say we don't know him. Dadam. I think they basically responded in terms of the legal aspect, the charging, etc. What I can say is that there's no localization or misalignment between the school and the department, because it's our school. There can't be. There's nothing of that sort. At all, I can tell you now. There's no problem. The school is still functioning properly. Our matriculants there are going to give me 100% pass rate, are writing nicely there. Teaching and learning is still taking place. This process gives us an opportunity to also deal with other inherent challenges that existed, where learners also, because we're able to pick up that there's a social cohesion challenge, and that's what we're going to address. Especially now with the national dialogue that's been purported through by the GNU, this gives an opportunity for such schools such as these that experience this type of challenges. Start a process of a dialogue between our children. Begin to deal with those issues that of concern by learners, and able to communicate and deal. So it's an opportunity. So as and when we are resolving this matter, we are going to bring learners on board. Our children are going to come on board because we are doing this for the school, in particular for the learners and educators, so that there is that synergy. So we'll be coming in, there will be programs and process that will be brought into the school to deal with these challenges. But what we're able to pick up that there is a silent institutionalized, and it's an individual thing. It's an individual thing. Kids are not born racist or born hating other people, born discriminating. They are taught this in some way. And I always took this blame both to parents and adults who, in their minds, if they are not ready for any form of a transformative country, then we have the challenge where in the report is even outlined the treatment of employees, the headache, the frustration felt experienced by the principal, and that's why we're saying, okay, there's a problem there. Our kids do not necessarily have a problem. But the problem, if the problem is the adults, that's what we want to resolve. that somehow there are people who are teaching kids this really behavior that we don't need in our schools and in our country. So we are going to look at it closely, but it's an opportunity for engagement and a dialogue between the school at large. So we'll be embarking on that process. And this is where I would also invite the Matome Chiloane Foundation to come in. And to say, now we're done with the report. Here's the investigative report. Obviously, there are decisions, recommendations that have been brought forward. We're looking at them legally, and we're going to act. I know that we're going to act, but now come forward, with the expertise of the foundation and other NGOs that really, progressive NGOs, come forward and let us use this situation as a model on how to deal with this type of challenges in future in other institutions, including other schools that may be experiencing. We might be speaking about Pretoria High now, but maybe next door there's a similar, maybe there's a similar challenge, or a school in Ikuruleni has a similar challenge, a school in Ikuruleni South or Gauteng West, etc. So this is a model. This is what we've been able to unearth. It calls for an engagement and a dialogue so that we clear out these issues. But one thing that I do not tolerate at all, and I'm aggressive towards, is racism. I don't want racism. I hate racists. Literally, I hate racists. Entirely. So when you're racist, you're my enemy. Because I know what it does. So for South Africa, from where we come from, up until today, we've come a long way to harbor individuals or ideas, even if the thought of it, the ideas, the racial ideas, that thing is a problem, especially in our country. So this is an opportunity, I can tell you, for us to resolve this. And yes, we did be able to pick up some form of distinctive racial culture, but not necessarily implemented openly, but we could pick up. We could pick up by comments, the investigation, they are there. But generally, the schooling culture, and there are parents who have also written to me, maybe I didn't highlight that, parents who written to me after the Matome MEC Foundation letter, visibly upset by the letter of the Matome MEC Foundation, but I never responded to them. I just noted it. But they were putting some very distinctive facts on how they feel that the work that we are doing is necessary to take the school forward. So ultimately, we are going to take the school forward, and many other schools that have similar challenges across our province. If there's anything that we're determined to do, is to get our schools right. And that thing, it's our conviction. So, let's say thank you very much. I think that should bring us to the end of our briefing. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lucy, and both directors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it here. Thank you.